up? It's your boy Stefan with the Master of Me podcast, and I'm here today to fulfill my promise, and it's to only speak when my words bring value. Today is the day that I bring the value. The topic of conversation is going to be something that's near and dear to my heart, something that I believe in, and that is coaching. If you follow me on social media, you follow my life, you know between real estate, wrestling, and goals coaching, the results that come from the actions, the habits, the mindset. Coaching is where it's at. I believe that coaches have coaches, and unless you're the man himself at the top, that you should be getting guidance and coaching from anyone that you can that's going to point you in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest for you. Someone to share time with that when I seen him, I knew that I had to be connected to him. His energy brought me to him. What he was being in the moment brought me to him. His words, his look, his aura, it pulled me in and said, that's the man that you need to be connected to. And I know that bringing him to you will do something similar or the same. This is our guest today. He's a two-time Tae Kwon Do gold medalist. And when I say champion, I mean gold medalist, the real deal, the main stuff. He's co-head coach of the national Tae Kwon Do team. So national is it's the whole USA. It is the nation as one. So if you can see how big that is and vast that is. Content creator, public, and motivational speaker. Like I said, what brought me to him was the motivational, the inspiration. I would say inspirational speaker because I was inspired after hearing this man. Mortgage broker for 18 plus years and friend and the bridge to the let's fucking go energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Arjun Dhingra. Say hello.
What's up, brother? That was a hell of an intro, man. I don't even know if my wife thinks that highly of me, so thank you for that, brother. I appreciate you.
Good stuff, man. I don't know. Your energy still excites me, bro. I'm telling you, like having you right here is on and off camera. It is that I know your presence and just watching, like, it's the power, dude, to be honest. It's the power that you bring to the table on the way that you move, the way you conduct. I mean, look this man up on YouTube and you seeing actual power by breaking through things with Tae Kwon Do and pushing through force and just watching his energy, what it takes to get to that level, the discipline, the focus. Like, there's people that can talk about it and bring it out. I'm trying to do my best, but then there's people that you see and you just know that person knows a thing or two about what they're doing. Man, let's jump into to some mindset here on in your life,
okay,
and how you've been able to A, stay in the mortgage industry for 18 plus years, B, get through the adversity of times like now where things are just so shifty. I mean, as of Monday, so shifty on like interest rates and energy. Like, I don't know how you feel in the morning, but when I see things like that, like, I know that I have to stay grounded. I got to keep focused on my plan, that there's not room for scarcity. There's not room for retreat or failure, like those negative thoughts to come in play. There's so much that can come from having the evidence of being an athlete or having the evidence of excelling at a high level to completion, I would say, because when you hit gold medal, that means you've overcome all adversity. And us in the mortgage industry right now, in experiencing what we did in 2023 and of lately, like we got a breath of fresh air a month ago. And then now to get hit in the face again, it's that old school Mike Tyson, like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. I know I felt like that last month. I felt like I was on top of the world and then get punched in the face like, oh, things aren't moving the way that I thought I was going to finish the year off. I got to keep moving forward. What am I going to do now? What's been helping you? What have you done in your life? Like, what is there a ritual and a mindset that you go back to when things get blurry?
You know, I think it's more about just like expecting that it's not a matter of if crazy times come or shifts in the market or pattern interrupts. You know, like you said, you were feeling on top of the world and then boom, you got interrupted. Like, they're a matter of when. You know, if I've learned that, you know, and I got to update my bio, you know, this will be the 24th full year of being in the mortgage industry. So having gone through a number of different cycles, different phases, ups, downs, a lot of disruption, from, QM rules, TRID rules, compensation reform, Dodd-Frank, like all kinds of things. So I recognize, number one, that it's just a matter of when things are going to happen, not if. So I think for starters, for everyone listening out there, if you're in real estate, whether you're in mortgage or in real estate and brokerage, just recognize that shit's going to hit the fan regularly. So you just put your hard hat on and you deal with it. The other thing is that you got to be very proactive in your understanding of markets and the things that you're doing to be in service to others, because you can't control rates, you can't control the markets. What you can control is, number one, your mindset, of course. And I know that kind of gets overused or it's oversimplified, and we can go a little deeper on it. But also like the things you are doing to help others. I've got this expression that, if you aren't in service to others, your time in business will be very limited, and your success and earnings will also be very limited. Like, you won't be in business long unless you are actually in service to others. You can come in during a bull market, whether it's real estate or mortgage or stocks, and make a grip of money in a short period of time and then get out. And that's fine. But if you want staying power, if you actually want to stick, and make it through the adversity, as you said, then you've got to be in service to others. Because as long as you are, you'll always have a job. There's no AI that'll replace you. There's no market event that will push you out or deem you irrelevant. You'll always have a job. So staying in service to others is how I make it through every market cycle. Because even if it's something that's not going to necessarily make me money, but it's going to help someone clear up some confusion, it's going to help them understand, it's going to help them develop more patience, because we're going to have to ride this out. We got to wait for rates to come back. Like all of us were like that in mortgage, right? A month ago, things were getting better, and then boom, punched in the face, the rates spike. If you didn't lock your pipeline, you're pretty much shit out of luck, right? So what do? You're going to lose that business, or, because it's not like those clients can go elsewhere. I mean, the rates are gone temporarily. They'll come back, but for the moment they're gone. So what do? Okay, you're going to have to be really in service to these people, over communicate, explain, keep them on board, help them develop some patience and understanding of the situation. But that's only going to come from you. And I have direct control over all that stuff. I can't control the market, I can't control rates, but how I communicate, how I put people at ease, what I clarify for them, what I explain, that I have 100% control over. So if I look at all my days like that, I can actually check off every box of everything I intend to do in a day and feel good about it. It may not make me money right now. It may not close deals right now, but it's planting seed, it's keeping people on board, it's keeping my pipeline safe and secure so that they stay with me, and then we're going to have an opportunity to do things later. So I think that's how people in our space really need to ride these things out, because again, it's only a matter of when they happen, not if. They're going to keep happening, just in different forms, whether it's rate spikes or a black swan event like COVID, or something happens geopolitically. Like, the world and the markets are burning around us all the time. Like, shit's going to keep happening. It's going to remain interesting. So that's my approach. That's how I get through it.
It is huge. It is to see that it kind of sounds simple, right? Because it's a be of service. Like, it's an affirmation that I've used so much of it goes, I'm justly rewarded for the service that I render to mankind. And then I followed up with it, I want to be of service. And wanting to be of service is huge, because it's a constant pivot. Then if it was just those words right there, that every time that the uncertainty came and the reminder came back up that I want to be of service, then just head down and find a way to be of service and keep pushing people from A to B. Because if you're moving them from A to B, then the other affirmation that you're justly rewarded, whether it come monetary through money or the feeling of moving that person, that human, like from being stuck to unstuck, all those things are going to pay off. And constant of the energy that you get from moving pieces, moving people from A to B, then creates more energy. And now you use that energy to go to your next and what you're going to do with that. I could imagine being stuck, and I don't just imagine it, I experience it. So I know that going back to that and hearing it from you is affirmative that being of service is where it's at. And that's how you create forever, and then it's constantly being of service. I mean, think about it. Like, what is our purpose here if we're not being of service? Like, what are we doing here on the rock here?
I say it all the time, man. Yeah.
Exactly. That's
what else are you here to do, right?
Exactly, dude. Run me back on. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, because I think if my audience, my viewers here, if they didn't need it as much as I did, like I needed that personally, and so thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And
my pleasure, man. Thank you for asking it. Yeah.
Dude. And at the same time, I am curious on what what it was kind of like being part of, like, unless you've seen athletics like I have through wrestling and tournaments and just going through brackets and over like that, like jumping into the Tae Kwon Do world. Like for me, like the mats, and they're different, but they're the same feeling at the same time. Like being there, being on the mats and sweating and moving. There's no crazier feeling than being eye to eye with the person and knowing that you have a goal, and it's
Yep.
to get my body down or in a position that you're in power, or vice versa. You know that, I mean, if we shake hands and it's me against you, like, you know that I'm bringing it to the table too, and whatever skills that I have. So you're constantly looking at flaws and weak points and how you gonna do it for me, right? Like, what's your way to bring me down? And so with that, like, what was it like on, like, I mean, we just got through the Olympics and the Worlds and stuff like that. Like, what was it like for you in that time? Like, I mean, you've been in the mortgage industry 23 years, like managing, being able to train and stuff like that. And just, I mean, that's a dialed in process. Some people just live and die, you know, that concept of being an athlete. And for you, being able to balance a little bit more of that, like, what was it like for you, like in training and competing?
Well, I'll tell you, there wasn't any balance. And anybody who tells you there is a balance, and you know this because you were a competitive athlete too, you know, this is how you and I bonded when we met at that great event a year ago. And we spent some time talking on that patio, man, and connected as brothers. But there's an understanding and an acknowledgement and a respect when it comes to these things, which is why I connect with people like you so well. There is no such thing as balance. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry of people talking about it, podcasting about it, writing books about it, coaching about it. It doesn't exist. The same number of hours are allocated to everybody across the world, you and whoever else you compete against, just like equally. There's no extra that anybody gets, which means we've got to do something in that same amount of time. Anything that you are in pursuit of, whether it's greatness, success, something, getting in shape, building something, it will come at the expense of something else. It doesn't mean it stays like that forever, but there's a window there where you have to press, where you have to push, where you have to build, where you have to break through. And then certain things get either put on the back burner or they take a hit. When I competed in 2007 in the first World Championships, I was very single at that time, and I was also going through a market crash that I had no idea would be as bad as it was. Like, things were starting to basically kind of fall apart in 07, you know, and then we had the Lehman Brothers crash shortly thereafter, and then the whole market capsized. But when you have that, it's kind of easy to immerse yourself into something else, because the mortgage business was quite like painful and stressful, and it's really depressing to be around. I didn't leave the business, obviously, and there was so much uncertainty around what's going to happen, but immersing myself into training and being around people and traveling to, you know, go to workouts and then eventually traveling to London for those world championships in 07 was kind of an escape. So it was kind of an easy pivot. I was just able to throw myself into that. And then when I came back home, I got back to reality, which was a full-on market crash. And shit, what are we going to do and how are we going to survive? And what's the mortgage industry going to look like? What's compensation reform going to look like? Dodd-Frank was being put together. Like, it was crazy, crazy times. The last time that I competed, you know, in between there. But the last time I competed, which was 2014, before I retired and then went full into coaching, same thing, was single, which helped because my dating life, when I tried to do it, when I would be training, it just didn't work. You know, it didn't really work because, one, I couldn't be really present. Two, I couldn't really enjoy myself because my diet was fairly strict, wasn't drinking any alcohol at all. You know, during that time, I got to get a lot of sleep. So, you know, Friday nights when people are out at happy hours, I would be at the gym getting my second training in for the day. And then going to bed early because Saturdays were huge training days, like 3 to 4 hours, like, and you needed every ounce of energy. So, you know, it was just a different life. But it was easy for me to do that because the desire for what it is that I'm throwing myself into is so strong that I don't even consider it a sacrifice. I just consider it as, this is what I need to do, and this is where I want to allocate and prioritize my time. So you don't see it as, oh man, this sucks, I got to go do this. You embrace it. You embrace the grind. You embrace the suffering. That's what Muhammad Ali said, right? Like, I knew that training was where I would suffer, but if I suffered now, I'd have the rest of my life to enjoy being a champion. And I would read those words and kind of keep words like that, and from other great athletes and people in my mind when I'd be making, you know, these trips and driving here and going there and putting in hours and then being really sore and then still coming into work to do work. So when I was at work, I was present. You know, it wasn't as much work because I would leave early, or I would come in a little later because I'd have morning training sessions on some days and do double days. But when I was at work, I was present. When I'd go home to my hometown to spend time with my family, I was present. When I was training, I was present. And so for anyone that's out there doing something while working, you know, start and raising a family, whatever it is you're doing, be present when you're doing the thing that you need to be doing right there in that moment. And also recognize the things that you do need to let go of, control what you can control, give yourself a lot of grace, be very forgiving of yourself that you're not going to get every single thing done, which is why you got to prioritize the thing that you're pursuing. And then, of course, you got to make a living, right? So you still got to work. And if you have a family, you still got to take care of your family. Maybe it's just those three things: the pursuit, the family, and your work, right? And that's it. And then, of course, in that equation needs to be you. You got to take care of yourself, your own mental and emotional well-being. So, you know, 07 and 14 were very much like that. I went all in, which is what you have to do it if you want to win. You know, watching our Taekwondo is not in the Olympics. We're in the World Championships, which is actually bigger because if you think about the Olympics, and this is no knock against the Olympics, I admire all the athletes that do it, and I love watching the Olympics. It's so much more of a desirable product to watch and consume because it's so many different sports and it's got the notoriety and the glamour of being the Olympics. But like if you think about Taekwondo in the Olympics, it's, you know, maybe a day or two, and you know, you've got people that are in certain categories and they're very small divisions, and it's a few countries. The World Championships is 50 countries that are all there competing in one sport. And you're talking about 1,000+ athletes, sometimes more. So the groups and the divisions and the categories are so vast and so deep, and it's the best of the best from each country. So, and that's the only thing they're there to do. It's just Taekwondo as a sport. So it's a cool and great experience. But watching the Olympics, you know, you mentioned this, and I'll wrap this question up for you. But watching it, you know, it takes you back because you know what everybody had to sacrifice or the things that they had to do on a surface level to get to that point. So you respect them. And it's more than just seeing someone on a screen. You know that they all have their own unique story, their own unique pathway to have how they got there, and that for the few that do ultimately end up on a podium and win something, how ultimately special that is on top of all of that, because few people can actually close the deal and actually be fortunate to, you know, get a gold medal put around their neck and hear their national anthem sung. But it's special to watch it every time.
From the concept of competing, consuming, moving into observing, then coaching, what was that transition like?
It was, for me, it was very seamless because I had a lot of clarity and peace of mind in doing it. And I'm very fortunate. So I'm the anomaly in this. Most athletes, when they have to either retire or move on to something else, it's because they're being forced to. They're not calling their shot. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's age, maybe it's a contract, whatever it might be, some life circumstance, something, or their body failed them, you know, like they've just, you know, run, you know, Father Time has kind of overcome them, right? And Father Time's undefeated. I kind of knew that I didn't want to ever be one of those people that was competing where people would look at him and like, that's cool that he's trying, man, but he's really past, you know, it's really past him right now. Like he probably shouldn't be doing this. And I also recognized, going back to what we talked about with sacrifice and knowing that when you're in pursuit of something, it comes at the expense of something else. I recognized in 2014 that would be my final one because there was a very special story for me around it. And I've shared this on my podcast, you know, which anyone can listen to, of course, and no, I'm not going to take up time with it here, but everything kind of ended the way it was supposed to end. There was this culmination of the universe offering me this incredible opportunity, being able to honor the memory of a late friend that I lost years and years before that in the city that he and I had spent time in. And it just was, you know, it was all like just shouting to me that this is where it needs to end. So I called my shot. You know, I said, this will be my final one. I'm going to retire from here and transition fully into coaching, win, lose, or draw. And I'm going to pour everything I can into this and also enjoy the experience and not stress myself out with the sense of finality and the emotions that are going to be around it, which was a very difficult thing to do because you know you're never going to do this part again. You know there's never going to be a drive to the arena the morning of again. You know there's never going to be a walk out to the ring again. You know there's never going to be, you know, whether your hand gets raised or not in victory again. Like there was a great sense of finality, but I had to stay very present with each step of it. And, you know, it ended beautifully, very fortunate, and in it being able to win and, you know, kind of going out on top. And then the transition into coaching was seamless because I had nothing more to prove. I had ended on my terms. And look, ending something on your terms, for everyone listening, it doesn't have to necessarily result in a victory. It could result in just you having the peace of mind of knowing that You did something, you got yourself to a certain point that maybe was thought of as at one point impossible or a real far stretch. You did it, and you're only competing with yourself, really. And that's how, that's your terms. And so however you need to get there to have that peace of mind before you move on to whatever's next in your life is important. And I think when we don't have that peace of mind, this is why you see so many athletes retire and then unretire. They thought maybe it was a good idea, but it was like, nah, I'm not done. Or they're not at peace and thinking that they're done, or they want more, whatever. Like, that's a difficult thing. And there's a whole science, I feel, behind that. But what it really involves is that you know what's next. You have a pathway to transition to it right away. Because if things end and you don't have a what's next, you're kind of shrugging your shoulders and looking around, and then you're like, maybe I go back. And that's where athletes kind of unretire or go back because they're just not ready to make the transition. But I made sure, because I wanted to not be tempted to look backwards or have any hindsight or second guess my choice, which is why I announced it, because I also was like, you can't go back on this now. Everyone knows this is your final one. So I told everyone, made it very intentional, treated it as such so that I didn't, leave anything behind or hold back at all. And then I also knew I was going to transition full-time into coaching, but also more importantly, I wanted to create space in my life to move on. I recognized and knew that when you do this, it's really hard to have a family. It's really hard to date someone. It's really hard to eventually settle down. And I always wanted those things. And Taekwondo in many ways kind of prevented some of those things from being able to speed up, because it just wasn't, it was hard, and you couldn't expect, it was hard to expect that of a significant other to understand this sacrifice and your life's work into this craft that you're going to pour into. And it doesn't mean anything negative against them, but it was just hard for them to understand why this thing was so important and why I dedicate so much time. So I knew 2014, I want to make time and I want to create space in my life to have a family, to be able to meet someone and turn the page and transition full-time into coaching and give other people the opportunity that I was so fortunate to have received. And so it worked out that way. But I think you have to lay it all out and plan it so that you can follow that plan, because you never want to be shrugging your shoulders and looking around and say, now what? Because that's very dangerous.
I believe it. I think that can be used for anything. It could be used for mapping out your day. Like, what am I going to do today?
Totally. Totally.
You're taking that and you're applying it to every moment of your life. Like, even saying goodbye to this moment and moving into the next moment, like being at peace that you're pouring it all on the field while you have it in that moment. And I mean, your story there was so powerful because you made a decision and you stuck to it. You were decisive. And I think that, I wasn't gassing up in the beginning of that, like the aura that comes off, but like those are the types of things right there that are powerful in itself. Your beingness, it's attractive, like attractive meaning it pulls in, it attracts to it, because it's being decisive, being clear, having the plan and sticking to it. Like, where else do you find a leadership mentality like that? Where else? That's in the proof. Like, the proof is in the pudding right there. It is in the actions and the results, and declaring it, sticking to it. Like, who knows if you didn't, granted you've done it before, but if something were different, like it could have been the difference between a bronze medal or something like that. Really? It takes the champion out of it. You know what I mean? Because in competitive sports like that, like you're one move away from losing, but you didn't. You followed through all the way through.
It's like that Al Pacino film and that great speech. It was like any given Sunday, you know? Football and life is a game of inches, right? 1 inch this way and you're inbounds. And there's so many athletes and so many great stories of things that could have been championships that could have been won or could have been lost if it was just one tiny thing this way or that way, right? And it's a reminder of just how fragile it all is for all of us, and even in business, right? If I'd done one thing, if I'd just gotten up an hour earlier and locked my entire pipeline, I'd have a record month, but I didn't, because I did this instead, or I decided to go to the gym, or I stayed up too late and I needed an extra, whatever it is. Like, there's a consequence for every single thing we do, and life is a game of inches, and really, micro decisions that sometimes have such huge impact. So I'm with you on that, man, because it applies to what you and I do day to day for a living, as well as sports and for athletes.
I think it's, just to pivot again, I said I was going to ask this question in the beginning of the podcast, and I still ended up asking it at the end. So the concept of, we're talking about how you transition into coaching, and just your take on coaching in general. Like it is a very fragile thing, like you mentioned, our life that we're living here. And so if you care about an area of your life, like just your perspective on
Yeah,
finding a coach or finding the right people, like
sure.
if everything matters. We live in this world where everybody's a coach. I don't know what your social media feed looks like,
Yeah.
but
Oh man,
everybody
totally.
from 14 years old to 50 years old are the know-alls
Coaches,
that you got
yeah.
to be following. So it's a delicate concept too on who to follow.
Yeah, it is. I think, look, I mean, first of all, to my own personal feeling in terms of is the exact same as yours. Like everyone should have a coach. I have several coaches for different things. I've had the same performance and mindset coach since 2009, since the market crashed basically. He helped me with my business and structuring things. He's well known in the mortgage and real estate space, and I think soon to be in the athletic space because he was transformative with two of the gold medals that I won, the Euro Cup and the last World Championships I did because we had started our work together. My first World Championships, I didn't know who he was yet, but he's been, hugely instrumental in that. So, I mean, I have that coach. I've got other coaches for other things. People have therapists, they have life coaches. Like, the more you have, the better. And some people's like, oh, that's just crazy. You're just, throwing money away. Look, I will never apologize for spending money or investing in something that's going to help secure a better future version of Arjun. Never, right? There's a lot of things you can blow money on, and I'm never advocating for people to be financially reckless or irresponsible. But if you are at a crossroads of saying, do I pay for and hire somebody to coach me in this respect or whatever, if you find the right person, which is the key here, and I'm going to segue into this because you brought this up, there's a lot of bullshit out there. But if you find the right person, it pays you back 1 million X what you put into it, and having them. And the most successful people I know all have that in common. The most successful people. Many of them have multiple coaches that they pay obscene amounts of money to, and people are like, what does he need it for? Well, he or she feels they need it because they always want to have that person that they go to for counsel, or because we all need a compass. We all need to be anchored. We all need guidance from time to time because this world will pull us in different directions. And it's very easy to get caught up in your own smoke, or get high on your own supply, so to speak. It's a bit of a drug dealer analogy. Not that I'm advocating for anyone to do drugs, but yeah, like people can do that. And so it's really important. Now, to bring this back to what you said, and I feel really strongly about this, and you and I talked about it offline, there's a lot of like nonsense out there. And look, I don't think people that are trying to coach, whether it's life coaching or business coaching or whatever, that are getting themselves out there, I think the vast majority of people, with the exception of a few, they're all doing it for authentic reasons to themselves. They want to help, but is it the right person? Like, is it responsible for me to think, or is it the right move for me to think that hiring a life coach who's 26 years old, who's barely been through much life, could be effective? And I'm 46. How many frames of reference does this person actually have? I'm not saying they shouldn't be a life coach, but you want to see certain credentials, right? Like if I want to work with a performance coach, I want to know this person has also performed, or that they have a great body of work of helping people perform at a high level to where if they've done it for them, they could probably do it for me as long as I'm willing to do the work, right? So it's really important. I'm not saying that people need to be discriminated against if you hire them, but I do think that them having certain frames of reference, certain frames of experience, certain frames of results is highly important when you select somebody, because it's a very crowded space. To your point, if you go on social media and you just look and start scrolling, every third person, there's an ad for someone that can coach you in this, coach you in that, health and wellness, nutrition. Like you look at the personal fitness space, personal health and wellness space, like specifically fitness trainers, that is where there's an abundance of this. Every third person who's in good shape is trying to come up with diet, lifestyle, and workout programs for people to help their lives. So it's a very, very saturated space. And I'm sure a lot of them are really good at what they do. So that decision process is even harder. If you're trying to find a really good online trainer or whatever, like good luck. I mean, there's so many people in that space, right? Like we see it all the time. It's crazy. So again, if you're seeking a coach, take reference from people who maybe have somebody that you know and trust. I think that matters. Find people that have done it. They walk the walk. My performance coach, the reason why I still pay him, I've paid this guy hundreds of thousands of dollars if you add it up since 2009. People are like, dude, what are you paying this guy so much for? Like, I pay him a shit ton of money I have, right? But the reason why I've stayed with him year after year is because he himself has coaches. I want to work with people, and I think everyone should work with people that recognize that they themselves are a work in progress and they need coaching. To your point, you said this earlier, like there's the highest of all, or that person, the almighty, whoever it is, the end all in a space. even that person probably has a coach. Coaches have coaches. The good coaches do, because they need guidance, and they learn and they take that and they pass it down. They can be taught and then they can teach. They can be coached and then they too can coach. And I think that's a very important full circle that has to be completed. So that was something that I took with me as a coach when I was coaching these athletes for 10 years before stepping down this last year, is that I will always when I competed, I always wanted to be the most coachable guy there. Whatever people were going to say, I was going to listen to, I was going to put it into practice. I was going to challenge it at the right time, but, not question it if it didn't require questioning, and just put it to work, do the work, and make them proud. Then it was very easy for me to transition over and giving that back and paying it forward to the athletes that I worked with, and coaching them the same way. So I feel it's really important, walk the walk, find people who've done the thing that they are touting or that they are coaching. It's really important. It's like, why would you hire a trainer who's out of shape? Simply because he's licensed? Simply because he's credentialed or he passed an exam? Well, this person doesn't embody any of those traits. They don't take care of themselves. They're not in shape. I don't care if you're licensed. I don't care if you're a licensed or certified life coach or health and wellness coach or business coach. What do you actually do? What do you actually embody? What do you walk? What walk do you walk? And if you do, it's going to be easy for me to decide to want to work with you. And that's how I would be as a coach or as a guide. I brought winning 2 world championships to the table for the people that I coach, because I've done it, I know what it takes, and I want to duplicate that and help you get there. So that helped. But I feel that's really important. So I hope that's helpful to your audience, man, because a lot of people contemplate getting a coach. They're curious about coaching. They themselves are maybe thinking about getting into coaching. Like, be authentic, be real. Don't try and get ahead of yourself or try and do something maybe before it's your time. Be patient. But if you're hiring somebody, definitely hire people that are walking the walk.
That is it right there. Like the value has been served on. You hit the nail on the head on using the word guide versus anything else. And I think that's it, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and life is life. Nobody's perfect. At the same time, when you go to somebody for guidance, there's a guy there to put you back on track. It is another set of eyes and ears and perspective based off of events and trials and truths of their life they can push you back on. And I think that's super important to pay attention to there. Arjun, where can people find you at, man, if they want to just look more into you and just see your work in the mortgage space and in the speaking space, and how can people get a hold of you if they need to?
Well, there's 3 ways. We've got, the best place to find me is on Instagram, at Arjun Mortgage. You can find me there. It's the same handle also for my YouTube channel for financial literacy and connecting, but I answer all my own DMs. So if you ever shoot me a note on Instagram, mention this podcast, and I'll know how you found me, and I'll definitely reply back to you. We also have the LFG Energy podcast, which I'm excited about because they're short, digestible episodes, 8 to 10 minutes that help people in this way of thinking along the same topics and areas of conversation that we've shared here today beautifully together. And so I'm really excited about that. But you can find that on Apple or Spotify, the LFG Energy podcast. And then I have an online community called the LFG Energy Society, which is for entrepreneurs, athletes, students, thought leaders, anybody. Human beings that just want to learn from one another, push each other, be held accountable, and find their best version of themselves that we launched. And so that you can learn a little bit more about online. But this is where you can find me. This is where I'm doing my life's work now and pouring into others.
That is it. You heard him. You heard him yourself. Arjun, thank you for spending some time with me here. And
my pleasure,
just
brother.
Sharing your experiences, your life with my people, and just casting that net out for whoever's ears or eyes need this moment. It was meant for this time. So I thank you, and I just hope that I know that we poured out while we're here today. So, and that's all that matters, that we can close this and know that we put it on the table.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for all you're doing. I appreciate you having me on. It means a lot to me. It was an honor and privilege. And I look forward to seeing you again, man. But thank you for all the work that you're doing in this.
Couple weeks.
Yeah. We will see each other.
Let's get it.